Hi, I am Michael Lorenzo, your third reporter for today. Let's go to communication equipment performance. Performance reviews alone no longer cut it. Managers hate them, employees dread them, and worse, they aren't even effective. So, how do you successfully drive performance? You need an ongoing performance management process and a solid communication plan. If you want to create a culture of high performance, you must first make time to develop the purpose, design, and roll out of your performance. But the performance management process is only as successful as its ability to communicate, understand, and engage your entire organization. Below, we'll cover 4 steps to successfully launch your performance management process, plus a timeline for effectively communicating. Number 1. Define the purpose of your performance. Managers should be able to clearly articulate each step of your performance, including the who, what, when, where, how, and why for each stage. For example, who is involved at each step? What are you trying to accomplish or communicate? When will key performance management events happen throughout the year? How are you going to use your resources? And last, why are you taking this approach? Include your developers in the design process. Consider involving developers in the decision making as early as possible. Involving these parties early on will help increase buy-in and enthusiasm around the process. Number 3. Market your performance. Along the way, make sure you are transparent and make it easy for people to ask questions or provide feedback. This will help set their expectations and understand their role in the process. Number 4. Adapting a new strategy. Adapting to a new performance or learning the ropes as a new can become a change to overcome. Communication is the most important part of implementing a new or improved performance management process. It is crucial for improving performance and the use of communication equipment. Why communication is important? Communication is used to develop, maintain the information system. Without good communication, it's not possible to satisfy the customer and may lead to errors and omissions. Communicating operating performance is a pivotal step to equip the knowledge to implement improvements. It invigorates and creates a sense of urgency to improve quickly and boldly. Now, let's move forward to prototype installation. What is a prototype? A prototype is a simple experimental model of a proposed solution used to test or validate ideas, design assumptions, and other aspects of its conceptualization, so that the designers involved can make appropriate refinements or possible changes in direction. What is prototyping? Prototyping is about bringing conceptual or theoretical ideas to life and exploring the real-world impact before finally executing them. Ideas without enough research or validation can expedite them to final execution before there is any. Early research isn't everything. Research conducted during the early stages of your design thinking project does not tell you everything you need to know in order to create the optimal solution, regardless of whether you have researched truly and gathered a large body of information. Let's go on to some of the purposes that prototypes fulfill are exploring and experimentation. You can use prototypes to explore problems, ideas, and opportunities within a specific area of focus and test out the impact of incremental or radical changes. Learning and understanding. Use prototypes in order to better understand the dynamics of a problem, product, or system by physically engaging with them and picking apart what makes them work or fail. Engaging testing and experiencing. Use prototyping to engage with end users in ways that reveal deeper insight and more valuable experiences to inform design decisions going forward. Inspiring and motivating. Use prototypes to sell new ideas, motivate buy-in and from internal, external, or inspire markets toward radical new ways of thinking and doing. Now, let's move on to how to develop a prototype. Level 1. Feasibility Prototype. This level is when we validate individual features for feasibility. It's when developers decide if a product feature is worth keeping based on technical feasibility. A feasibility prototype is extremely important, helps validate individual features, can be iterated until it's completely debugged, even as a subsystem. Preliminary product prototype. This level is where your prototype can provide a lot of insight into how components will work together, as well to identify possible limitations. A preliminary product prototype has components that begin to come together and the product starts to take shape. It's still in the experimental phase, but it only has some features built into it, may only has the shell user reference for the final product. Demonstration prototype. At this level, prototypes may not look exactly like the final product and can be used to show off the potential. This is the stage where we test different materials and different aesthetics. A demonstration prototype includes many features and functions of the final prototype, starts demonstrating aesthetic components and appearance of the product, can begin undergoing user testing in many cases. Pre-production and final prototype. Level 4 is where learning is more focused on industry requirements and the focus shifts from feedbacks. Manufacturing should be the top of mind for designers at every level of the product's development. A pre-production prototype isn't fully optimized, may need final adjustments, may stay in this level for many iterations before it becomes a final prototype. A final prototype has a complete feature set and internal components, it's fully optimized, is ready for mass production. Now, let's move on to prototype categories. Number 1. Working prototype. A working prototype is an early example model of a product built to test a concept or process to be learned from or to show investors and marketing companies. Number 2. Visual prototype. A visual prototype is a sample or model of a product built to test a concept or process or to act as a visual prop to be replicated, improved, and learned from. Number 3. User experience prototype. It is developed such that it represents enough details of the final product. It's supposed to be used to further research work being carried out. Number 4. Functional prototype. A functional prototype might be created with a different technique and different scale from the actual product. Let's move on to benchmark testing. What is benchmark? It means a set of standards that helps determine the quality of software, product, or service. We can benchmark a software, product, or service to assess its quality. For example, a football team has a benchmark for a player to qualify as a Premier League player. The skill set for the benchmark will be a number of goals scored in the last 5 seasons or ball possession during the first half time. What is benchmark testing? It measures a repeatable set of quantifiable results that serve as a point or reference against which products or services can be compared. The purpose of benchmark testing results is to compare the present and future software releases with their respective benchmarks. Things we should consider. A benchmark must be repeatable. Response time needs to be stable amongst different load conditions. A benchmark must be quantifiable. For example, the user experience cannot be quantified in numbers, but time a user spends on a web page just a good UI can be quantified. Benchmark testing is not just a term related to software testing, but it also deals with hardware testing. It's considered one of the most important tasks in the world. Creating a benchmark test plan. Test plan is the most crucial element of the benchmark testing process. The steps is given below. 1. Scaling and volume workload. 2. Collect and store measures. 3. Define the time span required. 4. Prepare a backup plan. 5. Decide the authority to call termination. Let's go on to the 4 phases of benchmark testing. 1. Planning phase. In planning phase, we need to identify and prioritize standards and requirements, decide the benchmark criteria, also define the benchmark test process. 2. Analysis phase. In analysis phase, we need to identify the root cause of error to improve the quality. We need to set a goals for the test process. 3. Integration phase. In integration phase, we need to share the outcomes with the concerned person and get the approval. We need to establish or to create functional goals. 4. Action phase. In action phase, we need to develop test plan and documentation. Also, we need to implement actions specified in previous phases and monitor progress and run the process continuously. Components of benchmark testing. Different systems have a varying degree of complexity and requires different techniques for testing application. There are 3 major components of benchmark testing. They are: 1. Workload specifications, determining the type and frequency of requests that is to be submitted to the system under test. 2. Specifications of metrics. We need to determine which element is going to be measured. 3. Specification of measurement, determining how to measure the specified elements to find the appropriate values.
Thank you guys for listening. Thank you, sir.